Hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to the Permission Movement experience, the experience around writing a new story, living a new life, having a powerful business. My name is Lynn Hawkins. I'm the founder and dean of the P3 Academy of Social Entrepreneurship, and I am here today. We're having a panel discussion. Only one of our panelists is here right now, but I will go ahead and introduce introduce what it is that we're going to do in this module and let you know where we're going. Dr. Monica Ogando is with us. Cynthia Gardner-O'Neill will be joining us, and a couple other of our co-authors. So buckle up, sit tight. We are going to get into a real discussion around love. And with this being World Love Week, you know, the question has come up. Do you experience love in your business? Does it make any difference as to how you do business when there's love infused in your business? And does the love you experience in your life extend into your business? All of these questions and more are going to be answered today, so let's just get started. I'd like to introduce myself. Really quickly, I'm Lynn Hawkins, again, founder and dean of the P3 Academy of Social Entrepreneurship. This project came about because it was actually a gifted download. You know, when he says, this is here to do, you basically say, really? And then you start doing it. Well, that's what happened to me. It started as a book. It moved from a book into a powerful book that included links, and it included an opportunity for co-authors to write their story, to tell their story, and include in it one tool that they use to help propel themselves forward in a powerful way. Because of that, we've actually been able to get a publisher to agree to helping us to put the book into a study guide, a small group study guide, and a leader guide. And those guides are going to be given to groups of girls and women across the country, across the world, that basically have been identified as girls who are aging out of foster care and looking ahead of them thinking that either the world is a scary place or what am I going to do? What do I do next? We've got girls transitioning out of juvenile detention, women transitioning out of the prison systems, women who've been abused mentally, physically, sexually, and who have kids who they are impacting because of their emotional state. We have women, we're actually wanting to get these books into the hands of women who are transitioning out of the military, either suffering from PTSD or, you know, just trying to figure out what's ahead of them because the world looks so much different to them now than it did when they enlisted. And this project needs you. It needs you participating so that you become a part of what this gift to the world is. You become a part of having purchased a digital package. For every two that's purchased, one nonprofit organization will get the benefit of having a digital package explicitly made for the nonprofit to use by category in different groups that they may be working with. And you know, it's amazing to me to see the support that has been garnered around this project, and I'm so grateful that my co-authors are here, that you are here listening to our programming, and that you're contributing in a way that's very meaningful to us getting this message out. So thank you, everyone. And enough about me, enough about this. I want to get to the topic of our discussion today and introduce you to our other co-authors. So if you are there, we've got Dr. Monica Ogando and we've got Lynn Sanders. And Monica, why don't you go first and introduce yourself and tell folks where you're hanging out with us from?
Today I happen to be in Atlanta. We are going through a little cold front, as cold goes. Like if you tell Bostonians that, they just roll your eyes at you, right? um, but I'm very happy to be here, very happy to support and to contribute and to be a part of it. It is such a strong movement, and it is so needed. And so when I saw the opportunity to be here, and I saw that my schedule was clear, I was like, yes, I'm absolutely there, absolutely. And some of the work that I do is specifically with women entrepreneurs, and teaching them not only how to grow their businesses, but how to grow themselves so that they can be the leaders and the CEOs that their companies require them to be. Whether it's an entrepreneur that owns their own business, or a corporate executive that has taken on a department or a region, etc. So it's the topic of leadership, particularly for women, is dear and near to my heart.
Beautiful, thank you. And you can unmute your video and be here with us live. Lynn, I know you're in a remote location. Lynn, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself if you can. You're unmuted. Lynn, are you there? Lynn?
You see her beautiful picture.
Yeah. She's trying to...
Oh, she's trying.
Yeah. Okay, well, I will give a brief introduction of Lynn. She's an amazing lady. She is the owner of a marketing and PR firm called Difference Makers Media. And she actually works with entrepreneurs who are difference makers who want to get their message out. And she helps them in the way of designing and developing the press release copy and helping to get that distributed. She is also there she is.
Oh, you can hear me? Oh, thank you. Are you there?
Yes, we're here.
I'm gonna have to talk more softly. I can't change the camera settings because I'm at a library. So
That's
this
okay.
is called
That's
perseverance.
okay.
I think
Why
Monica.
don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Okay, thank you. This is very unusual. I'm Lynn Sanders, and I'm the host of The Difference Makers through Difference Makers Media, also founder and CEO of Park Avenue Marketing, and we help our inspirational business leaders as well as nonprofit leaders tell their stories effectively to help them attract more revenue, build their following, and raise awareness. And we do that through our writing and through our online media and videos. And I really enjoyed hearing what Monica had to say. I wrote it down, helping leaders grow themselves to be leaders, because that's what this is all about. So it means that when we have challenges, like my computer is at the Apple Store, I'm doing whatever I can to get into this program. So I went to the local library, and I'm talking to you from the library machine, which does not have a webcam. That's why you can't see me.
Oh, okay.
But I'm very excited to be here, and thank Lynn Hawkins so much for this opportunity to share my story and help more people be able to make a positive impact in the world.
Well, thank you both. I know for the past couple of weeks, the technical challenges have just been tremendous around a lot of things and a lot of people. So I'm just excited that you took the extra steps to even get to the library to be able to be with us today. So kudos to you, girl.
Oh, thank you. It's my pleasure. It's fun.
Well, we're going to be talking today about love in your business. Does it make a difference? Does it make a difference that's noticeable to others? Does it make a difference to you and how you feel about how you're doing business in your life? So let me start with that question. How do you do business? Do you consider yourself as having love as a part of your business?
Oh yeah, I think for me it's the number one ingredient. One of the reasons why I started my business to begin with over 15 years ago was because I wanted to be available for my I mean, back then toddler daughter. She's 18 now. But it was necessary for me to do something that would let her know that she is my number one priority, and that mommy was going to do whatever it took to make sure that she was okay. So it started with love, and then secondly, once I uncovered my own, just you put one foot in front of the other and you uncover your own gifts, your talents, and what people want to pay you for, and what they celebrate you for, and what they seek you out for. And so you have this Venn diagram, right? Like what you love, what you're good at, and what people are willing to pay you for. Jim Collins popularized that in Good to Great. And once you get to that sweet spot in the middle, then you feel like you haven't had to work since, right? It doesn't feel like work. It feels like play. It feels like you're just getting paid to be who you are. So at the very center of that is not only the love that you have for the people that you serve, but also the people that benefit from your efforts, and ultimately the love that you have, that divine creation, that spiritual center that says, I'm here for a purpose, and you begin to love yourself and your life because you're in contribution. And I think, oh my God, no greater gift.
You are so right. Oh my gosh.
I love what you said, Monica. I just wanted to add to that. It's beautiful. We're all, I believe, we all at our core are love. And I think the main thing that people need to be aware of is that we all can connect on a very deep level. Uh-oh. Okay. Can I just finish? I'm sorry. I'm talking a little too loudly. I'm trying not to be too loud. Sorry. This is, anyway, what I wanted to say was that we are all operating at a vibrational level. We can attract those within our sphere, and we can help more people outside by just radiating who we are, as Mahatma Gandhi says, to be the change that you seek in the world. So we can all be that change by radiating our inner core, our love that's really within us. And I find that it's really helpful to read something that's inspirational each day, even if it's a line, or say positive affirmations, because it's so easy, just as it is right now, to get distracted. People are pulling at us, whether if we're in a library or we're just busy doing our work, where we can get distracted. So the main thing is to do what we can to stay centered, whether it's, as I said, through affirmations or deep breathing, or just even writing, journaling. The main thing is to know that we do make a difference by identifying with that love. And to answer your question, yes, I feel love is at the core of my business, because building relationships is all about love, and that's what we're here for.
I so totally agree. Love is at the core of my business, and it took me a minute to really identify what it is that I'm doing. It's kind of what Monica said about being on that journey, that the real you emerges, and the real thing that people will pay you for, and that that your conversation is authentic and resonates because it's from a heart level. And that's what growing into the P3 Academy of Social Entrepreneurship has been for me. It really allowed me to say, this is who I've been all along. And this is where I live, because I am a heart-centered person. And I want to work with heart-centered individuals, entrepreneurs. I want to work with purpose-driven, heart-centered entrepreneurs who really want to help through their business to do more in the world. And what it will ultimately do is bring bigger business, because people want to work with people who are making a difference in their own lives and the lives of those they touch. So I think that it's really key to identify that love is what it's all about. I was talking earlier today, and we were reminiscing on some songs of old, and love is all there is, and love is the way. And those of us who really have incorporated those values really step into a place of having people desire to do business with us. It's what you said, Lynn, attracting those people who resonate with that vibrational level. And if you know anything about the vibrational level, we're talking about, Dr. David Hawkins' emotional scale. And the scale goes from 0 to 1,000, and the lower levels like fear, 250, anger, 400, and it goes up from there. Well, anger being a higher number, I think it's actually like 350 or something like that. But you have all of those really outward, forward emotional expressions at the lower level, especially if they carry pain. As you go up the scale into the realm of love, which is 500 or above, you really start resonating, and I call it seeing above the clouds, where the sky really is blue and the sun really does shine down in beams of light. And at that level, 500 or above, you actually do get into the realm of attracting the good that you're open to. And they say that the Dalai Lama is one of a few that vibrates at a 700 level. And yeah, I'm not sure if there is anyone they've identified that resonates above that. But
There's an Indian guru named Amma, A-M-M-A, and I'm sure she's right up there. She has won the Nobel Peace Prize after Jane Goodall, and she also does a lot of outreach, charitable, all over the world. A-M-M-A.
yes, I know of Amma. I actually had the awesome opportunity to see her live from a distance. But I have friends who actually have gotten close enough to even study with her, spend some quality time with her. And for me, it's kind of like, when you're in that vibration and somebody else has been in that higher vibration and then you come together, you too elevate your level of vibration. And it's just been amazing. I actually have her book. She's an author. Amazing work. One of my friends, to talk about how powerful this is a photographer. And she was one of the ones who actually got to go see Amma, and she took pictures. And I want to tell you, I don't know that I would have believed it other than seeing the pictures. You could actually see little orbs in the picture,
Wonderful.
little balls of light. It was amazing.
Wow. I was just going to say, she is known as the hugging guru, so I have been hugged by her several times. She comes to the Illinois area once a year in the summer, and people get numbers like you would at a grocery store, and you wait until they call the hundreds of your number, and you wait in line, and you get a hug. And she throws little rose petals on your head and whispers blessings in your ears. It's just amazing. It's a great experience.
Well, I would say that's something to celebrate. And, what might that do for your business if you have a little tag on your website that says, I've been hugged by Amma. I've been blessed by Amma. So, yeah.
But we all have it. That's the thing. We all have that inner love. If you go up to someone and give them a hug, you're giving them that same energy. Yes, it certainly is a boost, though, to get it from someone who's already at a high level. But I want everyone to know that you've got it within you too.
That's a great segue into my next question, which is, the doing of business has changed over time. It used to be, you go to a business meeting, you shake hands with whoever you're meeting, no matter who they were, because things could get interpreted a little differently if you did more than that, unless you knew them. And now it is getting to be more common to even people that you do not know to say, it's nice to meet you, extend your hand, but then take your other hand and put around them to actually embrace them in a hug. Or just out and say, I'm a hugger, thanks for the hand, but give me a hug. And really be able to express that heart connection. And I have to say, and I want to find out what your take is on this, I've experienced that it's made for a deeper level of connection, a higher level of conversation, and the genuine things that were intended to come out of those kinds of encounters have happened or more. So,
Mm-hmm.
what's your take on that? Have you experienced something like that? We've got Andrea here who's joined us.
Hey,
Welcome. Why don't you
thank
go ahead and introduce yourself real quick, and then we'll come back to answering this question.
great, and I love the question. I can't wait to answer it too. Yes, I'm Andrea Wolf, and I am speaker author of Ignite Your Life: How to Get from Where You Are to Where You Want to Be, and business and personal coach. Excited to be here today on this wonderful topic of love and hugging.
Hmm.
So great.
Oh,
Okay.
great. Well, go ahead and answer the question for us since you've got the floor.
Great. Yes. So I've had the honor privilege of loving every day of my life as a coach for the last 25 years, and I have worked with both men and women, um, all entrepreneurs, leaders in their industries. So it's marvelous to watch the difference between men and women in business. I would say that I naturally, energetically create very safe space. This is whether people are working with me or just standing in line at the supermarket. And I do have a personal philosophy that there's no such thing as too many hugs. I live by it. And so we need touch. We need connection in life. I think us women sort of intuitively know that. Most of us women, and I marvel when I go into companies where it's predominantly male, and I have an inner giggle going on to see, over the first few weeks, who is going to hug me first. We might start with sort of a distant, extended handshake, and then it gradually, very quickly, actually, usually there is one who takes the lead and actually reaches out to hug me. Um, it speaks volumes to what's actually going on underneath the physical act of hugging, which is trust, which is connection, real connection. I think you hug people you feel that connection with, especially if it's a real warm, big hug, and and it's so important. And often that is missing in business, is that connected, heart-centered place. And when you access that, um, interestingly enough, it really affects everything in business, how the team functions, how the bottom line results, a connection with everyone, from your vendors to your clients to everything. So, it really is about, I assert that all business is about relationships. And so, if we look at love being at the center of that, and hugs being a representation of that, it's a powerful force, totally impactful in business.
Mm-hmm.
I encourage it. I encourage that kind of connection with clients, where they will never leave you. They will stay with you forever. Who wants that in business? Everybody raise your hand, right?
Yes,
Wow.
That's
yes.
a great point. I think one of the biggest lessons that I've learned, um, married to someone who is almost in every way the opposite of me.
Right.
um, I have learned that not only do we as human beings have different ways that we learn and that we consume and process information, but also in the way that we express information and the way that we express our feelings, and how what people mean to us, how we express that. So Dr. Gary Coleman or Chapman, I don't remember the name of the psychologist, but he wrote a book called The Five Love Languages. I think it may be Gary Chapman. And we quickly took that quiz, and we quickly found out that one of my primary love languages, as it is for most women actually, research shows, is words of affirmation and acts of service. And so the way that I like to be shown love is through talking, through compliments, through acknowledgement, verbal acknowledgement, and acts of service You know, I could care less if my husband buys me a flower or, the next handbag or whatever. But I love it when he picks up the dry cleaning or when he sits there and massages my back, after a long day, etc. Those acts of service. Whereas for him, physical touch and gifts are his primary love languages. And so, whereas I don't care that much about gifts, he very much does. So he's like, I don't care if you give me a massage, just, give me the tickets to the game. When I think about this in terms of, wow, we've had quite a journey, just a one-on-one relationship, me and my husband. Imagine what this would be like and how revolutionary it would be if we were to take those kinds of lessons on a grander scale for the business, for our communities, to be curious enough about each other to learn what the other person's love language is, and then committed enough and caring enough about them to give our love in a way that they could receive it. And so for me, that lesson in business can get, like Andrea was saying, it can get a little awkward at first because people tend to have their business personality on and their business, suits and their language. They even speak differently and their voice goes down a tenor, and they don't talk like that with their children. They don't talk about that like that with people who they're friendly with, intimate with. So my job, my agenda as a leadership coach and as an executive trainer is to melt, that film that we have between each other, so that we can then not only get to really know one another as people, but it really does have a bottom line effect. We make more money when we are human towards one another. It's not just the kumbaya and the woo-woo. It's like, no, this actually affects your bottom line. And it behooves you and it's intelligent to be loving and to be intimate.
Yeah. I would love to add something here, if I may. We raised such a really vital point. And now I'm speaking right to women entrepreneurs. Often it shows up that we think we have to act like men to be in business, and we lose touch and lose sight of our authentic selves as women. And in my work with women entrepreneurs, I really create that open horizon space for them to step into discovering their authentic self in business and be that, really be that, be just like that in their business. They start to like it more, love it more, and then as they're stepping into all that energy, they actually then start showing up differently for their team, actually excited to be there, as opposed to maybe being that kind of tough leader they thought they should be being. Everything shifts when women entrepreneurs really are just at ease in themselves, being authentically themselves. That's more than enough. And then they fall back in love with their business, because often people come to me where they want to change something, but they don't quite know what, but it isn't quite going the way they want. It's not growing, it's not fun anymore, it's that kind of stuff. And then everything changes. It becomes like one big game, and it's sheer joy and bliss to be in it. And then often discovering how they want to make a difference with all this new success naturally follows from that. So wonderfulness comes from just getting in touch with your authentic self. I really love what you were saying.
I just wanted to add something. Andrea and Monica, I hope you can hear me. I'm having to talk softly because I'm still awkward.
We can hear you.
You have given such gems of wisdom here. It's so wonderful to listen to what you're saying. I was taking notes, and I just wanted to add one more thing. I don't know if all of you have heard of the work of Byron Katie, a woman, Byron Katie. And she talks about really finding the love within you, that you don't have to find it outside of you. And that's really what you're saying, that if we really learn to accept ourselves, find it within us, then we can attract others within our sphere. And what you said, Monica, was also so wonderful, that there are different languages of love and different ways of seeing and accepting love. So I think that as long as people are aware that love comes in many forms, and as Andrea said, when we accept ourselves as being love and accepting all our qualities, then we can attract more of that, which then affects the bottom line, which I think most people never think of. I certainly didn't ever really think of it affecting my bottom line until you brought that up. So thank you.
Yeah, yeah, it is actually a key factor, especially for women. Women doing business with women. It's become quite evident that establishing that kind of a heart connection is the tie that binds, so to speak. And it allows somebody to just be themselves, to be real and authentic, like Andrea was saying. And I like, because I do a lot of work with men as well. And one of the things that I have noticed is that they are less willing at first to participate, but when they do, it's like they and it you meet them a couple of times and the hug is there, and then the next time if the hug isn't there, they feel like they've been gypped. Like, where's my hug? And so it's something that is beginning to really permeate the entrepreneurial industry, and it's something that if we truly are difference makers, which each one of us is, it's something that we can contribute to because it's part of who we are. But as leaders and teachers, it's something that we are also showing the example of. And that means an awful lot to me because the next generation that is seeing us, like I take my grandson to meetings with me on occasion, and he sees me, he knows it's a business meeting, and he sees me hug somebody, he's like, wonder what that's all about, kind of thing. But he even asked me one time, why did you hug them? Like, because they deserve to be hugged. They're good people, and we want to also be the ones who help that generation, that next generation, to see that it can be done. It is acceptable, and it doesn't have that underlying tone of what's going on here, because I think that with the next generation growing up in a more digital age, they don't have that kind of interaction.
Oh, God.
Text messaging, email, laptop, a tablet, all of that. They connect digitally, and what it does for them is really brings them up and into the world. And they're actually doing studies now about what the digital connection is doing to the younger generation. And it's going to be interesting to see how they make it through the journey, both physically as well as in the realm of connectivity. Some people, and I find this pretty amazing, for me, the digital world allows me to do stuff like this and see people face to face who I have never touched yet. And this allows me to express my heart in the words that I say. Friends of mine teach the concept of the Native American wisdom and the 3 arrows of power. The thoughts you think, the words you speak, and the actions you take. And when it comes down to the thoughts you think, they get translated into the words that you speak, and then the actions that you take. This is an action that has brought connectivity to us. And I am so grateful for this coming into our realm. And I know that the younger generation is also using this. I think for more personal reasons. We've learned how to use it in business and personally. I think that they are using it more in the personal realm, so that it might become an issue when it comes time to connect on a business level, because they're looking at this, but more importantly, when it comes to connecting on a physical level. Like, I have no problem. If I go somewhere and see one of you guys, it is total hug fest.
Can't wait for that, Lynn.
I know, right?
I
You know
can't
what?
wait too. Yeah.
I wanted to say, I'm sure, I don't know, I'm sure you've heard of this study, but there had been a study years ago for babies where they were not hugged. I
Oh, yeah.
can't imagine them doing that, and I don't know if the babies died or they were very ill. So it's just
They
showing,
died.
yeah, it's terrible. So it just shows it's a basic need that we need touch. And if you think about it, hug is heart to heart. So
Yeah.
it's like we're really connecting at such a deep level.
Yeah.
Great thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
See, we have another, is that Cynthia?
Yes, it is. I was just going to say we have another of our co-authors who's joined us, Cynthia Gardner O'Neill. And if you can unmute and say something, you want to say hello and just tell everyone who you are, what your business is, and welcome.
Hi, thank you. Can you all hear me
We
pretty
can hear
well?
you great. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm at a library in Paonia, Colorado. Had a lot of difficulties today and last night with some electricity going out and everything. So I am Cynthia Gardner O'Neill, and I am the founder of the Center for Loving Consciousness. I also have developed a program called Harmonics, and Harmonics are about the harmonics of the heart, how we can create coherency and harmony and love between one another, one heart at a time. So, my mission is to revitalize the human spirit and to bring an open heart. And I love what Lynn always says. Her little saying is, "We open hearts. An open heart opens hearts." So I'm here and joining in because there's a lot of powerful stories out there to help women move out of their place of discordance and hardship, and bring them into a place where they can feel their value and their contribution to the world. And we find that by really finding ourselves within our hearts. And when we begin to love ourselves and understand who we are and what the truth is about who we are, we begin to raise consciousness, not only within ourselves, but within all humanity. And I believe that's really happening big time right now. We're in 2015, which I've just received, as far as the information that I feel that it's really happening on this planet is the higher consciousness is coming in. We are in infinite possibilities and potential right now. 2015 is the 8, the infinity symbol. Because if you total, 2015, 2, 1, 5, we have the 8. And it's very, very powerful. And then this month, I'm turning 53, so I'm going to be in an 8-year. So I really think it's going to be a very powerful year for the heart and love. I could say, this is the year for love and the resurrection of the heart. So, and that's why I'm loving being here in the Permission Movement experience and being able to contribute, my past experience of my hardships, of early childhood rape and sexual abuse and those kind of things, and overcoming that and finding that where I stayed was in my heart, and that's what actually propelled me. I had this moment where it just propelled me. I just knew there was something more there. Something inside my heart was telling me, yes, we do have communities and places on this earth that, love is what motivates humanity. And I really believe nothing would exist without it. And here we are in a beautiful place of partnership, friendship, heartship, where we are collaborating and bringing our hearts together, and we are making a difference. And that's what this Permission Movement is all about, this experience that we're having.
Beautiful.
Yes, it really is. And, I'm watching the chat area, and we've got a couple of people out here who've commented, and Pearl Jordan, also one of our co-authors, hopefully will be able to get in and join us, says that love is the remedy. She says, if I remain in my heart, if I remain heart-centered throughout my work and focus on the intention of love, then everything becomes possible. How true is that? Oh my gosh.
It's great.
Wow.
I love that. It is so true.
Beautiful.
Absolutely. You know, some people say to me, they go, you know, when you hear all you need is love, and a lot of people say, well, you can't pay the bills with love. Well, what I like to say to everybody is, guess what love does? It brings you the opportunity to pay the bills. It gives you the opportunity to infinite, you know, have infinite potential and possibility, because your heart is what actually, you know, your what's in your heart is going out 60 times. It's 60 times more more amplified than any part of your body, and 5,000 times more electromagnetic. And that, therefore, we are affecting each other with our hearts. Not, you know, that's above and beyond any part of our, you know, who we are. And so that's how we communicate, actually, is through our hearts. And that's what's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
At the energetic level, that's what you're saying, really, because that's we all are energy.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
why we can come together here across miles and in a screen and feel it, even though we're all located in different places.
Absolutely.
When I work with people, whether it's in their personal lives or in their businesses, and there's something discordant going on, there's usually been a stepping out of connection, of understanding, of sort of judging, dismissing, avoiding anything but really looking at that which connects and that which would solve, and it's always love. So in business, I may not use the word love, but we eventually do get there because, you know, like I offer ideas like we're human beings, not human doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we, let's say you're leading a team or you're part of a team or you're owner of a company, whatever role you're in business, and it's not going the way everyone wants or you want, how do you turn that around? Well, seeking to connect with the actual human beings, underlying beings, and a moment of connection, a moment of just sheer like people time, right? Person to person time can transform everything inside that same situation. And suddenly there's instant connection. So, you know, where there's fragmentation in a personal relationship, let's say a marriage or a dating relationship, it's exactly the same thing. There's a stepping out of that which brought us together in the first place. And so rather than sort of sitting like this, arms folded, and you know, holding the person at bay, and I'm right and you're wrong, so the polarity thing, a separation, what I call being like an insect repellent, we step back into that which magnetizes us toward each other, which is always sort of understanding, compassion, empathy, um, communication. Usually communication is broken down somewhere. It's all those things, and if you just sort of take those stepping stones, you're going, there's this natural law of attraction that happens. The other person steps back in too, and before you know it, you're back in love again. Some level of love. So you know, it's so simple. And another of my sayings is, you have to be smart to make it this complicated. So simplifying is name of the game, to reconnect and then reconnect deeper and start trusting again, and before you know it, there's love present again.
I think for some people, particularly those that feel like this conversation may be too close for comfort or too woo-woo or that's never going to work in my department kind of thing. I agree with you, Andrea, that sometimes we need to use different language in order to bridge that gap, to just speak to somebody's listening. And more importantly, I think that sometimes when we do live in those lives of separation, we think, I'm the only one with this irrational fear, or I'm the only one that has this imposter syndrome going on in my head, or I'm the only one that thinks I don't have enough time in the day. These are very common human conditions, but the only reason why we feel so isolated inside of them is because we're not communicating. And so part of having authentic communication, and this is the whole foundation of when I start talking about story leverage, is that the whole foundation of communication is when you are authoring your own story and then you are communicating in universal terms. You know, everybody has a desire to be loved and valued and acknowledged. Everybody has a fear of not being valued, acknowledged, and loved. And everybody has a concern about, you know, am I all right? Is this okay? You know, am I going to get the promotion? Is the salary coming? Or, you know, is my husband going to stay with me? Or my children think I'm doing a good job as a parent? Or, you know, whatever those concerns may be, they're universal. But because we only live in one body, we think I'm the only one that's going through it. So when we actually communicate our individual experience in those universal terms, that's when we create that level of connection and intimacy that sometimes it takes a workshop and a weekend and a retreat to get people to cop to.
Mm-hmm.
And we can do this on a day-to-day basis just in our communication. It can be from a position of power. It can be from a position of responsibility and an authorship, and still be authentic and soft and vulnerable and inviting. It doesn't, you know, those two are not mutually exclusive. In fact, I think when we are our authentic selves and when we are operating from that place of vulnerability is when we are at our most powerful, because it's when we create the most connection and when we open other people up to be the same.
That is so beautiful, Monica. And I want to add to that you mentioned about story leverage and how we're authoring our own story. And I think that means that we really have to be conscious of the words that we put out there to author that story, because, as you know, words have power. So I catch myself and I catch others who I care about sometimes saying things that aren't positive, and we could change that at any time because we're the ones, as you said, who author our story. We can choose our words, and that also starts from what do we believe about ourselves. And if we decide we want to believe that we are loved, then we can choose words that have that resonance, as Cynthia was saying, and Andrea, connecting with ourselves at a deep level and then sending that out. We can author the story we want to have happen.
I love that you brought that in, Lynn. That was something that I was going to actually go to next because it's really critical. I mean, back to the 3 arrows of power again, the thoughts you think, the words you speak, and the actions that you take. When you're talking about self, someone's looking at, you know, I feel less than for myself. And how do you think that translates into their business? And then, you know, what's the turning of the thinking to it starts here first. My inner peace must be before I can truly contribute from an authentic place to outer peace. And I was talking with someone just again yesterday about the fact that there are so many of us who look at our own lives and put ourselves in this little compartment over here, unworthy and you know, undeserving and damaged, and all of the things we say about ourselves. Yet we want to be in the space of heart and contribution and collaboration, and it gets difficult. So what's your take on that, and what's the upside? What kind of solutions might be offered?
Yes. Okay. So where this inner peace comes from and where the solution comes from, this is absolutely the pure coaching approach, right? Is really getting that on some level, everything that's in your life, you have at least co-created, if not totally created. Now, you may be thinking, Andrea, what are you on? Because it's out there. It's other people. It's circumstances. It's everything outside, external. So on some level, even if it is that you have been allowing, tolerating, avoiding that there are things in your life where there is a level of your contribution. The way out of this is two things. One is, and this will sound, I mean, there's stuff to this, but it is very simple. Everything I say is simple. So one is really flipping that coin and realizing that you have the power to be at choice every moment of your life. And so whereas, let's say, let's take a crisis, some thing that's happened in the world. You could have two people, here's an example of it, side by side, and one, say, like a extreme weather condition, and it's caused, mayhem. So one person will be in crisis and, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? I've lost everything. And that's perfectly valid. There's nothing wrong with that. But you're reacting to, at the effect of. And the person right next to them could be looking around to see who they can help. Not in crisis at all, seeking to serve others. Again, one isn't better or worse than the other, but it's the same circumstances, completely different response to it. So choosing how you react to what's showing up in your life is where power comes from, and being powerfully at choice. And there's a lot more I can say about this. I want to hear everyone else, but really it's those two things, being powerfully at choice and choosing how you respond to what is in your life, choosing differently.
So that is so beautiful. And I want to speak to that too, as far as people finding that peace inside of themselves in that moment to make a wise choice. And I think that's the hardest thing for people. And I always like to say, choose to make it easy, because you were just speaking of choice, and to come from that place. But a lot of people, when you're in a discordant situation, the biggest thing that I find myself when I'm in my hardest, most challenging situations is for me to go into my heart, and that's the whole thing, is about teaching people to find that place inside of themselves, that peace. And when we're speaking of choosing that peace, how do we choose that peace? How do we make that choice? How do we know that we're making wise decisions? Because many people question their decisions, and right there, that's a place of judgment. We begin to judge ourselves. So I like to work with people in helping them move in a forward direction of asking a question, what would you rather have instead? Powerful questions that we can ask ourselves so that we can go into our hearts. What will take us into our hearts so we can experience a place within ourselves that we trust ourselves. And where does trust come from? Trust comes from loving ourselves, finding that deep love within ourselves that has no judgment on ourselves or anyone else, that authentic love. And again, is this woo-woo to talk about love and everything? Well, love is a power, not a process. Love is our power. And it's about educating people about that. And that's what I have, the Center for Loving Consciousness. I really believe we have to start at a level with our children in education. We even, mothers who are giving birth, and all kinds of programs. And I believe that's what we're doing here with the Permission Movement experience too, is with all these amazing wise women that we have here, that we are providing the trainings and our own experience, where we came from, our hardship, into our heartship, is what I like to say. Changing the daily ow into the daily wow. Those kind of things.
Oh my gosh.
And it's just about educating people, giving them information that empowers them to know who they truly are. And that they are love, that they are this person who is a beautiful contribution to this world. I always say, your unique heartbeat, is so important to this world. And I think a lot of people end up taking their lives or end up in bad places because they I think humanity, you know, they are motivated by love, and what they're also motivated by is to feel as if they have a contribution, that they're also giving to this world in some way. And I think a lot of people don't feel like they're enough, that they're not worthy, that they're not valuable. And it is about creating that value within ourselves and understanding that our heartbeat, who we are, is really, really important to this world to make a difference. Otherwise, I don't think we'd be here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I remember saying, Cynthia, that's so beautiful what everyone is saying, that all you really need is one person to love you when you're, growing up or at any point, because then you can feel an assurance and a foundation that you're okay, that you are worthy. And I think it's so easy for us to feel torn and feel unworthy because of all the negativity around us. We're in this world that has negative news broadcasting all the time. What I have found helpful, and others have done this as well, is to think of different affirmations that are positive, write them down, and then read them every day, because we all need to be kind of refreshed or re-inspired that we all are difference makers and we all are worthy. Um, so it's one thing to just hear about it, but it's another thing to put it in our brain so that we read it and renew ourselves. That's what I think is so important. Take some time for ourselves, meditating or breathing deeply. It's all getting back in tune.
I totally agree. I think that it is key that we start with ourselves, that we start with laying the foundation of all that goes beyond us begins with us. And I love what Cynthia said, changing hardship into heartship. And I want to just throw out this thought question. When you are in a collaborative environment, and that can be, a meeting with a client to determine what it is that they need that you can provide, or, you're building a strategy to help someone to resolve something. What is your take on the love factor infused into collaborations? What's your thinking around that?
Well, I'll come in and talk to that, speak to that. Collaboration, just as Lynn had said, it is so important to even have that one person. And you know what? There's a lot of people out there who don't have just one person. That they don't feel that they trust anybody. They've been so hurt or whatever it is. And this is what we're reaching out to. So it is about having people such as ourselves who want to have a more meaningful life, that we do reach out to people who to let them know that we want to collaborate with them. There's so many people out there who are feeling alone. They're feeling lost. They don't think there's anybody out there who really knows who they are or appreciates them, acknowledges them, or any of those things. And here we are creating a movement to do that, to find those people, because I know myself, when I was in the place of total thinking this world, there's no love in this world. At one time I felt that. I didn't want to be here anymore. And I didn't think I could trust anybody. And so what connected with me all of a sudden is there was a person who reached out to me. And it changed my life. That one person, the love of one person can change the lives of many. We've watched Mother Teresa do it. We've watched the woman who started the Red Cross. We've watched each individual, step out and change and have these movements that help people collaborate together. That we say to this person, you have meaning in this world. Join me. Your story. And this is what I love about the permission movement. Our stories We're showing people how powerful our stories are so that we can let them know that their story is just as powerful and can make a difference for another person. That's all anybody really, I think, really wants to do for a meaningful life, is to contribute and collaborate with others to continue that that raising of consciousness is what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay,
So
go ahead.
thank you. Yeah. So when you invited me into to be part of this amazing movement and book and everything that we're going to be doing, getting out in the world and speaking and empowering women, all the things that we have planned, which is so exciting. I just knew that, Lynn, knowing you, that at the heart of it was your huge heart, that it would be a love fest, like bar none. And I immediately said I'm in because, talk about resonance. Um, you're attracting totally like-minded women in each and every one of us here and others in the project, and it's exponential. So you make a huge difference, Lynn. Each and every one of us here, right here, present today. Individually, we are about rippling out into the world, making a difference, contributing, serving. Together, it is wow, like you said before. It's exponential. It's not just like here we have 5 of us here and it's 5 times. It's 100 times the ripple we're creating when we bring our hearts together and share just this conversation. Never mind when we get out in the world and start speaking, and then the ripple is bigger and bigger through. So that is the power of love. It is exponential, and it's you can't restrain it. So as you know, I'm birthing a community and a movement called Women of Impact, and what's underneath all of it, connection, collaboration, community. And what had me dream this up is in my experience, traveling the world as I have for the decades I've been on the planet, when women lose sight of the fact that they matter, everything goes awry in their lives. It's off kilter. They forget that they matter. So that's my first really passionate commitment, is reconnecting women to the fact that you matter, each and every one of you. When we know that, everything becomes possible. So the next level of that is then taking all that wonderfulness out into the world and making a difference out in the world. And of course, there'll be much more to it. But those are the fundamental underpinnings of my dream here and my vision. And you can hear my passion and zest for this because it brings us alive as women. And of course, I've been told by men, but what about us? So that will be down the line. But because this is important for men too, basically anyone breathing. There is a zest that gets born when you're in touch with, you matter, you're connected with that heart of yours, and then you take it out into the world and share generously. There's a hue to life that is totally different, and then there's a ripple on the planet, which I assert we desperately need right now. And love is the answer to stop all this talking at each other, fighting. I believe in the possibility of world peace, to really speak my very big vision. And the way we're going to do it is by more feminine communication and connection. So we talk with each other. We seek to understand. When that is happening at a global level, war will be impossible. It will evaporate.
I agree.
Wow.
It's already proving out. There are people out there, like in the world of EQ, they teach diving in to get to the core so that your heart actually emerges. And in doing so, it has to have ego to step out of the room. And when ego steps out of the room and heart meet to collaborate, to communicate, to connect, it's a whole different ball game. And it's one of those things that once it does permeate through the levels of leadership that Monica was even talking about, it really becomes a different game. And I so agree with you that it has the potential to bring world peace. There's studies that prove that there were two bordering countries in South America who learned EQ. They actually went through the process of learning this whole love thing by the guise of EQ, which, you know, there are so many ways of learning love. EQ happens to be one that on that type of level where ego is truly high. It can penetrate and break down barriers and easily get ego to go out of the room. They actually had a 100+ year feud going on. And somebody has their mic on. If you could mute, that would be amazing. Thank you. With this feud between neighboring countries, it was over a common cemetery ground that was considered sacred and all this stuff. And each had their own exposure to EQ that brought them into the room together to collaborate. The feud ended, the killing ended. I mean, they were in serious war against each other. The war ended, and it has changed the regime. It has changed, permeating out into the actual people in the country. It has uplifted both countries by what has happened. And so there's evidence that bringing love into more of what we do, more of who we are. I heard somebody say the other day that, you know, yes, let's recognize there are bad people in the world. There are bad things that are happening because there are bad people in the world. And then there are bad things that happen because, you know, nature does its thing. And, you know, for us to, I think, Andrea, you said when somebody is in a disaster and you have one person that's sitting here in so much pain and another person who's, you know, equally devastated by what's occurred, yet they are the ones going around, how can I help you? What can I do? The heart matters. Heart matters in who we are, what we're telling ourselves, what we're doing out in the world. And I go back to this whole story thing. And Monica, if you're still there, chime in on this. You know, how is it that some people can actually move through and get to the other side of their story of pain and disappointment and hurt to be this loving individual and really using, at this point, using their story to help others to make change?
That's a great question, because first we have to operate from a common ground of assumptions, right? All human language relies on assumptions. If anything else, assuming that you speak the same language as I, right? Sometimes we use the same words, but doesn't have the same meaning. So sometimes the communication gets lost there. So one of the things that I teach my clients and that I talk about with story leverage, if you could just imagine a 3-column piece of, like in your piece of paper, you draw out 3 columns, right? On the left side, I write down facts. And on the right side, I write down interpretation. And I leave the middle one blank. And so sometimes I'll be taking a client through a really traumatic memory. And it could be something as simple as, you know, my father made me wait after school and I was the only one there, all the school buses were gone and I felt abandoned and da-da-da-da. Or it could be really traumatic like war or rape or, you know, domestic abuse, et cetera, et cetera. The only difference is the degree of emotion that's in the memory, right? So the only 4 things that you could ever put in the facts column are, number 1, what somebody did, what they didn't do, or what somebody said, or what they didn't say. So even how they said it is interpretation, right? So, for example, right now I'm speaking in a way that is in a volume high enough for you to hear it, given technology, etc. But if it was 3 a.m. in the morning and my husband was sleeping right next to me in the futon, he would think you're yelling, you know? So it's the same data, but it's interpreted differently depending on who's listening and what's the circumstance, right? So I get them through that fact column of what somebody did or didn't do, say or didn't say, and then we go to the interpretation, because typically when we're telling a story, we're telling it from the interpretation column. We're not telling it from the fact story, from the fact part, right? So what happened between the fact column and the interpretation column? What colander did you have to filter the facts through so that they came out with your interpretation? And so the conversation then is that sponsoring thought. The sponsoring thought not only of who I am, but of who people are in relationship to me and what kind of world I live in, right? So to give you an example, my dad, he's 83 years old, bless his heart, and has lived in this country now for over 30 years, but he's still very much a Dominican man, right? So sometimes my husband will come home from work and I'll still be up here. I won't go down there and say hello. I'll wait for him to come up here, and dinner is not on the table. I mean, I'm typically calling him to bring it in. And my father's watching all of this, and he's thinking that I'm neglecting my husband, you know. All that happened was I didn't cook dinner. That's all that happened. But what was the sponsoring thought underneath my father's retelling of the story, such that the way it came out, went to hear him tell it, was, you know, Monica's neglecting her husband, right? So to get people to move beyond their story, we first have to dissect the distinctions to make sure that we're talking about the same thing. And then when I do that, and the reason why this exercise means so much to me is because I unhooked a lot of the emotional drama from a lot of my memories of childhood because of this exercise. From the age of 8 to 10, I was sexually abused by a relative. And I couldn't tell that story without breaking down and crying, without the anger seething through my eyes, you know, with not saying the story except by clenched teeth, right? And so to be able to dissect the facts from the interpretations, you can then tell the story and use it depending on the effect that you want to create, depending on the message that you want to communicate. Because you can tell the story from the position of I'm a victim, woe is me, look at this shitty life I've had, excuse my French. Or you can tell the same story, same data, same facts, from the position of, wow, I'm freaking amazing. Look at all that crap that I had to go through, and I'm still here, and I'm still happy, and I still have a smile on my face. Same story, different angle. And so when you're able to shift seats, you know, imagine like the story's in the middle and you have like this ring around the rosy. When you're able to shift seats like that, then you can then become a master of your story. You can then leverage your story as opposed to being at an effect of and the victim of your story. Does that make sense?
Does, yeah. And I'm glad you brought that in. That's a very tangible thing that anyone watching can then try and do for themselves. Thank you for that.
Yeah, you can do it with the latest argument you had with your boss, being passed out for a promotion. You could do it with something that happened at the grocery store. Just take it through that 3-column filter and see how you immediately unhook yourself from being a victim of whatever happens in your life.
Oh, I love that, Monica. I just wanted to jump in. I love the idea of shifting your perspective. I read a book by Colin Tipping. I don't know if any of you have read it before, Radical Forgiveness. And it really helped me a lot at one point in my life where my world was falling apart. My mother had suddenly died. My father was telling me that he was disowning me and he was sending us hate mail because he had no one to blame the death on except my husband and myself. And it was really very bad. And I started having back pain because the mental and emotional pain was affecting my physical. And then I read this book. I felt I was just led to it. And Colin Tipping said, in every situation, no matter how crazy this sounds, why don't you step back and look at what is the gift that you can get from something really, really hard. And I realized in that moment that I was getting a gift of learning to be strong and independent by having to face my father, who I had always trusted and loved, that maybe I needed to be more independent But once I could forgive him on the inside, then I got stronger, and then our relationship healed. So what you're saying is the same thing in a sense. Really, we have a filter in our mind, but if we could step back and say, well, what are we getting from this? Or as Andrea said, looking at people in a horrible weather situation and saying, well, what can I do? Look at it in a different way. We can then grow and really get in touch with our loving selves. And I want to add, I love the whole idea, the phrase "permission to be powerful," because I think women as a whole, our thought don't think of the word powerful as a good word. We think of that as a negative. Men are supposed to be powerful. So that's what really is so exciting to me, being a community of women who are all in sync with the idea that it's okay to be powerful because we're going to be giving love. That's an amazing thing. So thank you.
It truly is. And Andrea, I know that you have to leave shortly. Do you have anything that you want to add to this? Because this is a conversation that you and I have had, and I'm just so grateful that it's come up because you're right, Lynn. The powerful piece of this is one of the reasons why it was intentionally infused into the title. It was intentionally infused into the chapter titles in the book because we as women are powerful individuals. And Andrea, go ahead and speak to this real quickly if you want.
Yes, very simply, this is what we're here for, to really be fully, magnificently female, feminine, women, amazing women, and what I call embrace our magnificence. This is what we're here for. And, you know, that gets kind of trained out of us very early on. It's no one's fault. Everyone, parents, community, they're all doing the best they know how. But we do learn how to be appropriate, how to be a good girl. We learn all that.
Or a
And
rebel. A good girl or a rebel.
there are those amongst us who are rebels. I was an exhaustingly good girl. I got lots of gold stars as a kid.
I do too. I still have my little rebellious streak. But yes, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So really, I passionately believe this is what we're here for, to shine. And it's okay if you're gently glowing right now. It's all good, right? There's nothing right or bad.
It is quite powerful.
Yeah, so when you step into your magnificence, not only will your life really just have it be like a rainbow every day, it's imagine the impact you're going to have on others. I get into an elevator and suddenly everyone's smiling at each other in the elevator, and they weren't when I walked in. It's not even now something conscious I do. This is about bringing your wonderfulness to the world. This is what we're here for, every single woman listening to this, and men too, of course. But really, ladies, this is what we're here for, to give everyone permission from our shining and smiling and beaming in the world, to give everyone permission to do so. And just, you know, just step into that, because it's a great way to be. It's a great way to live. It's a great way to have a business, run a business. It's just great in every nook and cranny of your life. Great relationships. It improves your health. It improves everything in your life. So embrace your magnificence. That's my message.
Beautiful message. And we've got Carrie Tucker in the house right now. And Carrie, this is beautiful. Permission to be now is very powerful. It's a powerful thing, and it is the love that we express for ourselves, to ourselves. One of the things that I'm so passionate about is helping youngsters, girls and young women to understand that they too have this power. This isn't something that you necessarily have to grow into, although you do have to grow into it. And I think this story, it plays so much of a huge part in what it is that we stand in as we're moving through our journey in life. And there's so many women who, barring they know this information, can do so much more in their lives. And that's really the power, the energy. And we're using power as an energy. We're using the word power as an energy. We're using the concept power as an energy. We're using power. Be standing in your power being, standing in the power of the energy that you are at the frequency that you're vibrating. And it does touch hearts, it touches souls, it ripples out. And that's our goal. That's what we wanted to do today. And I'm looking at the time. This has been amazing. I would venture to say, for the panelists who are here now, please, if you have something that is another methodology like what Monica gave about using the 3 columns, I love that. And I want people to continue to think about the 3 arrows of power. And really, they are arrows. You know, you have the archer who pulls back the bow, and the arrow has a designated destination, but it requires you to actually breathe in and come from your heart. When you release it, that's the power. And in all of that, you know, again, the thoughts that you think, the words that you speak, and the actions that you take will help to determine exactly how impactful, positively or negatively, what you do will be. So that said, Cynthia, do you have something in addition that you'd like to leave with our audience?
Yeah, you know, there's a quote by Martin Luther King Jr. He says, Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? And what I take from that is, you know, your heartbeat is a signature sound of you. You are unique. And by you being in a state of love and peace inside yourself, you are doing more for others than anything you could possibly do physically. So finding that love inside of you, as all these women have said, when you find that peace and love inside of you, you are transforming consciousness for others. And that's what it takes to what are you doing for others is also what you are doing for yourself. So I always say, breathe deep into your heart and love yourself more today than you did yesterday.
Oh,
Beautiful. Thank you. Lynn,
yes.
would you like to share something?
Yes. Well, everyone here is so profound. I've been taking prolific notes. Well, I think my final thoughts here would be that the Beatles phrase keeps coming back to me. All you need is love, and it's so simple, and yet it's so deep. And just what Cynthia said, so beautiful. We are all unique. We are, you know, and just by being who we are, we can make change. So I just want to say that yes, I see that in Monica's ideas and Andrea's. I think what we want to convey here is that we all, everyone listening here, we all have that love within us, and we just need to recognize that, recognize who we really are, and then we can create positive change that will transform the world. So let's keep that in mind. All we need is love.
Beautiful, thank you. And yes, awareness is the first level of any change. And with all that's been said today, we hope that it's brought some new awarenesses. Monica, do you have anything that you want to add to this?
I just really want to say that I'm very proud of the work that we're doing here, and you know, I've heard plenty of people say all you got to do is bring this out and bring or discover this or find that within, and I just want to reiterate that, you know, when I mentioned before about speaking of assumptions, that assumes that it's already in there. And that's a very, very important assumption to make, that everything that you have, everything that you're looking for, all the love and the wisdom and the power and the strength and the resilience that you wish, quote unquote, wish you had for certain people or circumstances, it's already in there. It's like ragu. It's already in there. All we've got to do is just move the dish around a little bit to spread the goodness. And I'm just very, very optimistic about where we're going as a society because of the work that women like you, Lynn, and Andrea, and everybody else is doing. I'm very proud to be a part of it.
Well, thank you. Thank you all. I am so proud. I'm ecstatic about those of you who said yes to this opportunity, that saw the vision, and that really resonate with the message, because it's what we're here for, like Andrea said, and all of you have said. And I just want to add to that thought, Monica, that I remember someone saying to me as I was expressing years ago some difficulty and trepidation around being in a certain state. Why is this happening, and this and that and the other? And someone happened to say, all the answers are within you. And I was like, well, that's doing me a lot of good, because how do I get them out? And that's one of the things that we want to help happen as well. Cynthia says often, everything that you seek is seeking you. And it is the answers inside of you are seeking to emerge out. And trust me, the opportunities to have that help that I spoke of are presenting themselves to you. So just be open to them, because you are going to see them show up, and you have choice. And while it may even seem scary, I'm going to tell you, being on the other side of it shines the light so that fear it gets diminished. Fear is eradicated. And fear is a thought. So address that thought. You know, one of the things that I go back to is the permeating fear of public speaking that so many people have. You know, this fear is worse than death for some people. It's a thought. Examine why it is you think that. Use the chart that Monica gave you. Use the chart opportunity. You know the answers are within you. Use the chart to help bring them out. And let's help heal the world by viewing our story as an opportunity and not the status or the state of our being today. It's an opportunity to make every tomorrow a better tomorrow, and to help someone else on their journey. So thank you for joining us today. It has truly been a pleasure to stand in the power of this work, to bring you this information, and all of my beautiful co-authors. And I love you all. I love our audience. I love all of our co-authors. I love the work that we're doing, and I love doing the work. So thank you all once again. Join us next Monday when we are going to do Gail Watson with the Women's Speakers Association is going to be here doing Speak Your Story, Help Heal the World. So this is an opportunity for you to find out if there are opportunities to help you to speak your story, whether it's training, whether it's opportunity, who's looking for speakers. I know that each one of us will be listening intently to the information that she's going to be sharing. So join us on Monday, 12 noon Eastern Time. And again, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so honored and blessed that each of you have been here today. And thank you. Have a great rest of the week. Bye, everybody. See you on the other side.
Bye.